very productive meeting. We have one thing in common. We want this city of ours that we love to do very well. And I wanted to congratulate the mayor. He really ran an incredible race against, a lot of smart people, starting with the early primaries against some very tough people, very smart people. And he beat them easily. And I congratulated him. And we talked about some things in very strong common, like housing and getting housing built, and food and prices, and the price of oil is coming way down. Anything I do is going to be good for New York. If I can get prices down, it's good for New York. And we've got them down, way down from last year. We have, as you know, I've been saying to a lot of people, Walmart said that Thanksgiving this year is exactly 25% less than last year. So that's good for New York, good for everybody. But I just want to congratulate. I think you're going to have, hopefully, a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am, I will say. There's no difference in party. There's no difference in anything. And we're going to be helping him to make everybody's dream come true, having a strong and very safe New York. And congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Please.
I appreciated the meeting with the president, and as he said, it was a productive meeting focused on a place of shared admiration and love, which is New York City, and the need to deliver affordability to New Yorkers, the 8.5 million people who call our city their home, who are struggling to afford life in the most expensive city in the United States of America. We spoke about rent, we spoke about groceries, we spoke about utilities, we spoke about the different ways in which people are being pushed out, and I appreciated the time with the president, I appreciated the conversation. I look forward to working together to deliver that affordability for New Yorkers.
Thank you very much. Any questions, please?
President Trump, Stephen Nelson from the New York Post. I've got a question for you and then also one for the mayor-elect. Sure. For you, you've referred to Mr. Mamdani as a communist. Could you describe why you feel that way? And also, will you do anything to stop him from arresting Prime Minister Netanyahu if he visits New York?
Well, we didn't discuss your second part of the question, and on your first part, I mean, he's got views that are a little out there, but who knows? I mean, we're going to see what works, or he's going to change also. We all change. I changed a lot from when I first came to office. It's now quite a while ago. It's quite a while. My first term was great. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We're doing even better now. We're doing much better now than we did even the first term. And I can tell you some of my views have changed. And we had discussions on some things. I'm not going to discuss what they were, but that I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually. And some very liberal people he won't surprise them because they already like him.
Wow. A show for you tonight. It's Friday. This is our Friday Night Live. It's Pop and Politics. I'm KJ. Let me introduce you to my co-host. Of course, we have Nicole Bennett.
Hey, y'all.
And Shelly E.
Hi, everybody.
All right, lots to cover tonight. But before we light this fire, do your part. Tap that thumbs up. Smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications. We are live here on YouTube. If you're on the go, you can catch us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. We love our chat. We shout out every super chat. I already see we have one from Kung Fu CJ here. Says it's on like popcorn. Let's get it, ladies. Zam damn it. Yeah. All right, keep them coming, folks. Friday nights, we love you guys, and we love spending Friday nights with you. And again, your super chats go a long way in keeping us online, helping us produce this content. So again, drop your thoughts, show your love, and join the conversation that the mainstream media wishes didn't exist. This is not just a podcast. This is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. Stand with us and subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right, ladies, let's set it off. Okay, so before we get into this presser, folks, we're going to bring you the entire Oval Office press conference. We're going to go through it, the highlights of it. But before we get into it, breaking news, lots of breaking news out just this evening. The U.S. Supreme Court immediately overturns activist judge ruling that struck down Texas's new Republican-friendly 2026 congressional map. So it's been stayed for now. Justice Alito issued the order. The map is back for now, while SCOTUS formally considers the appeal. So that's great news for conservatives like us. Now keep it that way until and overturn California's really. Quick response from you ladies. What did you think about this, Shelley?
It came quick, fast, and in a freaking hurry. So, again, they have, I guess, almost a year to actually go through the case because the midterms are next year. So we'll see.
Absolutely. Nicole, your first thoughts?
Very exciting. Oh my gosh, I was so excited. You know how much I watched the Supreme Court. That whole ruling just made my entire day.
Yeah, absolutely. More breaking news. Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has announced she is resigning from the U.S. House of Representatives. In a statement, Greene, of course, she's a Republican, said she is planning to leave office on the January 5th of 2026. She's not finishing out the rest of her term. She says, I look forward to a new path ahead. She said in a social media post, the announcement came just days after she and President Trump had a vehement disagreements over the release of Justice Department files related to Jeffrey Epstein. So she is saying that she's dropping out, and this does make the House very close now. So with her dropping out, it drops to 218 to 213. We're losing a Republican vote. Nicole, what's your first response on this?
The state committee will replace her. So it's not a total loss, but note what she said is not that she's leaving politics. She's resigning from the House. So you can look forward to her name on a ballot near you, something probably statewide like governor.
All right. Yeah. Shelley, what's your thoughts on this? And do you think she has a good chance of becoming governor of Georgia?
I don't know that, but I do know this. Republicans better learn how to play the long game and not these short battles, these little battles here and there, because we don't have a lot of margin. And I know she's resigning and whatever, her and President Trump going back and forth, but I don't necessarily see this as a win for Republicans in general.
All right. Well, we will see. I want to bring you all that breaking news, folks. As you come in, hit that like button. It helps to get this video out in front of a wider audience. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe. That is another way to support the channel and to grow this community of conservatives. Subscribe. All right. So let's get back into this Oval Office press conference between Zohran Mamdani and President Trump. We showed a little bit of it at the top of the show. What's this? I agree, Allie. I 100% agree. We saw the press conference at the top of the show. What do you all think? First off, Shelley, what did you think of this press conference today?
I thought it was, I'll say, classic Trump. Okay. We all know President Trump, he will chew people out, call them names, and then he will sit down with them and have a political, economic, whatever, strategy session, if you will. So, I know a lot of people are upset, thinking, he was too nice, and, it wasn't as contentious as President Trump was during the campaign. But ultimately, I think President Trump, I believe with my heart that he wants the best for New York, and this is going to play out. So we'll see.
All right. Nicole, when I first saw that press conference, I thought about you. You always say that these politicians hurl insults in public, but shake hands in private. What is your reaction to what we saw today? Do you think President Trump was too nice?
Well, no, President Trump is a very charming man, an incredibly gracious man. But if you listen to his words, he's kind of standing his ground, but with better words. He's not, saying you're a commie socialist and you're going to ruin the city and everybody run for the hills. That's not what he's saying. He says, yes, we need to work on affordability, not just for New York, but for the entire nation. And Trump is committed to that. Trump also says, I love New York. New York loves me. It's a beautiful thing. So he's trying to find some common ground with someone who's not going to give him the grace of having that common ground. This meeting benefited Zamdammit more than it benefited Trump. This is something that he can go back home and say, hey, I talked to the president and I told him this, that, and the other thing. So, look forward to him, slowly slamming Trump, the things that were said during the presser. But the most important thing I think that came across is that he did show up at the White House and he did kiss the ring. Note that body language. The president is sitting behind a resolute desk, calm, cool, and collected. And Zamdammit is standing there like a schoolboy that's been called to the principal's office. You talk about political theater. This is that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Trump looked weak. I do not think that he was too nice. I agree. I think he stood his ground. And this was the side of President Trump that we all see and we know is there, but the media tries to paint him as something entirely different. Okay, so this was a show. He really said, you guys can kiss my ass, is really what he said. Because he says, I'm standing up here with your leftist golden boy, all right, who called me all kinds of names, all right, and I'm making a fool out of him and you all because he's skinning and gritting right along with me, okay? And I'm the man in charge. I'm the president of the United States. He came to see me, and this is how the game is being played. Remember, I'm the author of Art of the Deal, okay? I loved it. But not everyone loved it. And I want to get you ladies' response to this. So there were some conservatives that were upset as well. One being Laura Loomer. So Laura Loomer has been a staunch advocate for President Trump, staunch supporter, and she was not happy. In her tweet, she put her X post was reposted by several other Republicans. She says, not condemning Trump. However, I think we can all agree it's a bad look to let a foreign-born jihadist who said he wants to implement anti-white policies like taxing white people more money to stand behind the desk in the Oval Office. Mamdani said America is a racist country, and he supports communists who say white men are the most evil people in our country. He calls Trump supporters fascists and incites violence against Jews every day. Trump said he was withholding federal funds to Mamdani since he refused to comply with ICE. So does this mean we aren't getting mass deportations in New York City? I took Trump at his word when he said he wasn't giving Mamdani funding. Now he said he's working with him one day after Mamdani's supporters stormed a synagogue in New York City and called for Jews to be murdered. Mamdani said he will fight all Trump policies. His election night speech was dedicated to getting Trump. Are we normalizing communism now? Shelley, your thoughts?
I can see why Laura Loomer would take that position. I can see that on a smaller scale. But again, President Trump is president of the United States of America, not just New York City. So he's a strategist anyway. So that he can say all these things. New York City will need and will get some federal funds for whatever programs it already has, and they'll probably will continue. Remember, President Trump is born in New York. That's a city that he loves as well. But he is also going to let whatever his name is again. Y'all know I can never say his name. He's going to let him run the city. He's going to let the New Yorkers who voted for him, or even those who didn't, they are going to suffer consequences, and we're going to see how this play out. And then guess what? President Trump is going to come in to save the day.
Yeah, right. Nicole, your thoughts on Laura Loomer's X post?
So one of the things I think we need to do as conservatives, the Republican Party, is one, we've got to grow up. We have to grow up. Trump knows what he's doing. He does not need Laura Loomer screaming from, the peanut stands, you said this and you said that. Let this man do what he does. He quite literally wrote the book, The Art of the Deal. If she could not see from the images that came out of the Oval Office how Trump was masterful. And he reduced this guy to like an 8th grader who didn't do his homework, who was scared to death, and it was written all over his face. He was nervous. He was uncomfortable. Yeah, come kiss the ring. Come kiss the ring. And then we can talk about all this communist bullshit later on. But please understand, this is my nation. I am the definitive leader of this nation, and you will come to heel. And that's what that press conference said in big, big letters. I get it. She is pretty much, you know, an angrier person. I don't know why she's so angry, but she does often take an angry stance when things don't go 100% your way. If our party could learn to be a little bit more Reagan-esque, if you get 80% of what you ask for, count it as a win. Count it as a win. But everybody is expecting him to take this really small, narrow path to victory when he's not a small, narrow path kind of guy. He's a wide stance man. The wider the stance, the easier it is to burn you on the back end. This is how he works. Ask Zelensky.
All right. Absolutely. All right, let's get back into this interview, folks, because there were a lot of clips that came out, but they didn't get a lot of the moments that I thought or we thought were very important. So let's get into this. All right. Let me see here. All right. So we're going to pick up right where we left off. Oh. Oops. Okay. 1 second. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh. I don't know what's going on. I'll try again.
While KJ's working on that.
Oh, okay. While you're doing that, I'm going to call the supers out. Let's see. We have here, we talked about Kung Fu. CJ, thank you for coming back again, Kung Fu, with your $5 super chat. He says Trump is playing chess while Danmit is playing checkers. Yeah, this is a long game. And thank you at Glenda Stucker 1547 for your $10 super chat. Thank you all. And Kung Fu CJ, again, we mentioned you earlier, but thank you all. Thank you all to our moderators in the chat room. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button so we can keep this show going. Are we ready?
All right, let me see. I'm trying to unmute it, but it's not unmuting. Let me try again. Can't unmute your guests because they chose to mute themselves.
So while production is working on that, can I give you guys some Oval Office lore? Number one, it actually is an oval, which is very, very interesting. Some of the walls are Secret Service accessible for different types of tunnels. Although the windows have beautiful images on the other side, they do not work. And that button on his desk, when he presses the button, the butler knows to bring something delicious to eat or drink based on his preferences. I pressed the button hoping for some Crystal Light. It did not work. So apparently it's a president only kind of button. But it is a very small room. You know, when you see it on TV, it looks like this really big room. It's not. It's a smaller room. And when the press is in there with the president and the guests and the security, it feels like the press is like right here up in your face. So it's a very interesting take for people who aren't used to having that much press that close to them, asking them questions they don't want to answer. So when you take a look at Zam Dammit and he looks a little nervous, between being there with the president and the press right up on his grill, this was not a comfortable experience for him.
Yeah, he looked like a little boy being chastised a little bit.
Yeah, he certainly did.
Are we ready?
Yes, we're ready. Yep. Okay. All right. Hopefully. Okay, let's try this again. Let me know if you guys can hear this.
And for Mr. Mamdani, it sounds like you had a productive discussion, but just days ago, you referred to President Trump as a despot who had betrayed the country. You said you'd be his worst nightmare and accused him of having a fascist agenda. Are you planning to retract any of these remarks in order to improve your relationship?
I think both President Trump and I, we are very clear about our positions and our views. And what I really appreciate about the president is that the meeting that we had focused not on places of disagreement, which there are many, and also focused on the shared purpose that we have in serving New Yorkers. And frankly, that is something that could transform the lives of the 8.5 million people who are currently struggling under a cost of living crisis, with 1 in 4 living in poverty. And the meeting came back again and again to what it could look like to lift those New Yorkers out of struggle and start to deliver them a city that they could do more than just struggle to afford it, but actually start to live in it.
And I've been called much worse than a despot, so it's not that insulting. Maybe I think he'll change his mind after we get to working together. Yes, please.
Mr. President, Anthony Marshak from MTV Lebanon. I would like to ask you a question about the Middle East regarding, you did said that Hezbollah in Lebanon is not in a good position. And Lebanon now is the final unresolved after Gaza and Syria. Given your assessment, like what do you say for the Lebanese today? It's the independent state in Lebanon. And what is your next move to push toward disarmament? The disarmament of Hezbollah.
Well, we are pushing for total disarmament of Hamas and frankly everybody else. And we actually have peace in the Middle East. As you know, the King of Saudi Arabia just left yesterday. We had some great meetings, and he's made a contribution toward the United States of more than $1 trillion. We have now over $20 trillion coming in. No country has ever had anything like that, not even close. If you go to 2 trillion or 1 trillion, it's a lot. We have 20 or $21 trillion. I think that Hezbollah has been a problem in Lebanon, big problem. We're working with Lebanon. We're working with everybody in the Middle East. That's another thing I think we have in common. We want to see peace in the Middle East. And we actually have now, for the first time, peace in the Middle East after 3,000 years. And now we're going to refine it. And I think you're going to see some very positive things happen.
All right. So I want to stop it right there. This part right here was shut the hell up, Candace Owens. Okay. Shut up. Because this man that we see right here is not Putin's lapdog. Okay. He's doing deals with the Saudi Arabia, whether you like it or not. I'm not saying this is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying these are moves that he is making that is not necessarily in the best interest of Israel. Okay. But it's in the best interest of, I can say arguably, it's in the best interest of America. All right. And so this is someone who is not, as Candace Owens put it, Putin's lapdog. What do you think on that, Nicole?
Agreed. You know, excuse me. When you say arguably in the best interest of America, it is absolutely in the best interest of America, because if these wars continue, and again, between some of these nations, it's Israel and the Arabs, this is a holy war. This is not territory. This is not, you know, rights or whatever. This is a holy war. Eventually, we would have been drawn into this war. So this, if you could imagine with me, if God forbid, if Kamala Harris had won that presidency, this would be a whole hot mess. We would already be involved in several skirmishes around the world. Several. And remember, this is back when our war fighters wore dresses. You know what I mean? It's not the same. They didn't have Sec War coming out, you know, doing what he's able to do and motivating the troops. We were in a different place with our military. The country morale was low, all of that kind of thing. Looking at President Trump be so confident, so easy from topic to topic, you know, while Zamdammit is standing there shaking in his boots, twiddling his thumbs and playing with his finger ring. What the hell, on his first finger? Let's not even go there. But he looks like a nervous child. And President Trump is calm, cool, collected, in his natural element. It's almost like he was born to sit in that seat. Do you know what I mean? He is a fantastic CEO, and he shows it over and over again in his clip. The people who say that, you know, he's only stumping for Israel have not taken a look at the big picture. They just have not.
Absolutely. Shelley, your thoughts?
Yeah, let me say this. I think like your comments, KJ, fine, I agree with that. But I'm going to say again, I said it earlier, conservatives, Republicans, MAGA, whatever, the right, we need to get better at looking at the long game. Many times, and certainly since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, many times there is so much going on where Republicans and conservatives, we want to put this person out, or we don't like this person because they said or did something 1-2 times, whatever it may be, that we don't like, instead of looking at the big picture, the long game, which I believe is what President Trump is playing, the long game. It's on the rest of us. We get so, I don't know if it's emotional or whatever the case it may be. Again, I wanted to quickly just mention this. To Allie's point about Marjorie Taylor Greene, that, we don't need her. She didn't vote Republican. That's not true. She voted Republican most of the time, I think over 90%. She had a few disagreements recently. I'm not saying you have to agree with her. I'm not saying you cannot, rebuke her or come back at her. All I'm saying is that, again, President Trump is playing the long game, but the rest of us seem to not be. I will admit I have been upset sometimes with President Trump or disagree with him, but I'm not throwing him out with the bathwater.
Yeah. All right. We can agree to disagree there. All right, let's keep it going here with what they're talking about on this press conference. Again, folks, as you come in, we are talking about this press conference today, right in the Oval Office with President Trump and Zohran Mamdani. We're bringing you the full press conference. So people have been clipping out little parts on it, but we're bringing it to you, the full press conference, because there were a lot of things that were not clipped out that I think were important parts of this conference. Here we go.
Do that, absolutely. And if the mayor would like to be here for that meeting, because I know he feels very strongly. I think you feel very, very strongly about peace in the Middle East.
We desperately want it. And that's something that I shared with the president, that when I spoke to New Yorkers who had voted for the president last November on Hillside Avenue and Fordham Road, I asked them why. I heard again and again two major reasons. One was that they wanted an end to forever wars. They wanted an end to the taxpayer dollars we had funding violations of human rights, and they wanted to address the cost of living crisis. And I appreciated the chance to discuss both of those things.
You said a lot of my voters actually voted for him, and I'm okay with that. I'll do that. I'll sign it. Give it to me. I'll sign it. And that's pretty good.
Mr. President, you've threatened to send federal troops to New York City. You both have differences when it comes to ICE agents in New York City. Mr. Mamdani, you've called ICE a rogue government entity. I wonder how you reconcile your differences on both of those issues.
Well, I think we're going to work them out. And I think that if we have known murderers and known drug dealers and some very bad people, we want to get them out. And the mayor wants to have peace. We discussed this at great length, actually, maybe more than anything else. He wants to have a safe New York. Ultimately, a safe New York is going to be a great New York. If it's not safe, no matter how well we do with pricing and with anything else, we can talk about anything you want. If you don't have safe streets, it's not going to be a success. So we're going to work together. We're going to make sure that if there are horrible people there, we want to get them out. I think he wants to get them out, maybe more than I do. So we'll work together. We discussed it at great length. Yes, please.
All right. So, they're working together on ICE. What are your thoughts on that, Nicole? Because before this presser, they were at odds over illegal immigration and ICE.
Well, again, coming to the Oval Office, going to the White House campus alone is definitely breathtaking, right? But sitting in the Oval, and you can see Scott Bessent over in the corner, just sitting there, that's some firepower right there. Zam Dammit wasn't ready for all that. He came in there guns a-blazing, and probably after he got through the gate, he had the same reaction that most Americans do when you walk to that side of the White House. It simply takes your breath away. It puts you off your best game. And that's what you saw, Trump getting the best deal for New Yorkers, saying, yes, ICE is coming, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's not anything you can do about it. So let's work together. Again, finding that common ground. This is a masterclass in how to make the deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's continue on, and I want to get you in on this, Shelley.
Yeah, two questions, if I may. One for you, Mr. President, on BBC in a second. But first of all, for the mayor-elect, you're both from different parts of the political spectrum. You're both populists, though, and I just wonder to what extent the president's campaign style, his techniques, his social media use inspired any part of your campaign.
Well, I actually told the president that, so much of the focus of our campaign has been on the cost of living crisis. And when we asked those New Yorkers who had voted for the president, when we saw an increase in his numbers in New York City, that came back to the same issue: cost of living, cost of living, cost of living. And they spoke about the cost of groceries, the cost of rent, the cost of Con Ed, the cost of childcare. And too often politicians are looking to lecture to New Yorkers what they should care about as opposed to listen. And when we spoke to those voters who voted for President Trump, we heard them speak about cost of living. We focus on that same cost of living. And that's where I am really looking forward to delivering for New Yorkers in partnership with the president on the affordability agenda.
And I think we have to work a little bit. We talked about Con Edison. We have to work a little bit on getting the prices because, we've gotten fuel prices way down, but it hasn't shown up in Con Edison. And we're going to have to talk to them. If we're sending them fuel at a much lower price than it was a year ago, which is true, we have to get Con Edison to start lowering the rates.
Absolutely.
All right. So you heard it there. They are both saying, or at least Mamdani said that the people that voted for President Trump during the presidential election, some of them were the one changed over to Mamdani. So what does that say about the electorate and what matters to them, Shelley?
It says that their pocketbooks matter to them. It says the economics matter to them. It says that the consumers, the New Yorkers, they want lower prices. They want taxes reduced. And Mamdani, as much as he wants this socialist free, if President Trump orders or allows any kind of federal funds to go, they're going to come with stipulations. Okay, they're not going to just be given free and spend it however you want. They're going to come with stipulations, particularly as it relates to ICE or any other federal police officer type position. So it's going to be a push pull, a win-win, whatever you want to call it. It's not going to be an all or nothing. So it's not going to be that, which is what, again, President Trump is playing the long game. Economics, affordability, whatever you want to call it, money. That's what matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, as you all come in, please hit that like button. We need that to help push this video out in front of a wider audience. We have so much to go on this, lots of highlighted parts of this interview that we want to bring to you all. So stick with us. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe. What are you waiting for? We are trying to get to 250,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We got a long way to go, but we can do it with your help. So hit that like button and subscribe. All right. So let's keep this train going here. All right. Let's see here. Here we go.
If I may, last week you told me you were pushing ahead with your plans to sue the BBC for up to $5 billion. You're going to speak to Prime Minister Starmer as well. Is there any progress or any updates on those issues?
Well, we get along very well with the Prime Minister. We made a deal with UK. I like him. He's a fine person. And, I think they have some big energy problems. They've got windmills all over the place. They're going to have to start using other methods because their energy is out of control. Talking about in the UK, it's out of control. And he's got that problem. He's got a big immigration problem, as you know, and he's got a big energy problem. And we talk about it. He's a good man. Prime Minister's a good man.
Yeah, this was an interesting exchange here because we know that when he's talking about the UK and their immigration problem, it's mostly radical Islamists, Muslims coming in and doing the Sharia law and all sorts of things. Of course, we had the assaults by these Arab men, and Mamdani is standing there and he's like, Nicole, what'd you think of that?
There were two really good points. That point that you made, KJ, Trump literally talking trash right in front of him, daring him to say something. But more importantly, when he was talking about Starmer, Trump turns around and looks at Zamdammit like, okay, so since you don't know anything about world politics, Starmer's from the UK. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is he calling him an idiot in his face, right? In the Oval, in front of all of this press? It was a moment that I think if they had been anywhere else having this particular press conference, it likely would have played out differently. But this is the brilliance of having him come to the Oval. It really is. You know, when he first said that he was going to have Zamdammit, I was like, why? Why are we having, you know, it's a waste of time. But now I see he set the playing field so perfectly. You're on my turf and you're going to dance to my music. It's wonderful. It's just so interesting to watch from a political standpoint.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. All right. And I know the left is fuming over this. I know we read some of the issues that the right has been saying, but the left is fuming even more. I mean, Shelley, the Democrats just voted to against socialism, which, I mean, I agree, but then you have Zohran embracing President Trump in the Oval Office. What are your thoughts there?
Get politics as usual. I mean, look, he needs President Trump more than Trump needs whatever his name is, Mamdani. So again, this is politics as usual. President Trump has buildings, big, beautiful buildings in New York City. Okay, he has property there. All these people, network deals, whatever. Trump Towers is still there. Mamdani, whatever his name is, damn it. He needs President Trump, not just President Trump, the politician. He needs President Trump, the businessman in New York City, more than the other way around. Again, follow the money. He's going to need President Trump, and he looks like he's there. You know, like I said, like a little boy being chastised. You know, President Trump didn't come up to his level to say we're on equal footing. No, you have to bend over to talk to me. I am the elder statesman, if you will. I'm certainly the elder realtor, business guy, and I have something that you're going to need to learn. I'm playing the long game. Mamdani doesn't know that yet.
You know, KJ, if I could make one more point about what we're seeing, the images of what we're seeing, and I think someone in the chat had brought it up too. When you take a look at the clothes that they have on, right? And I don't know what Zohran, because New York has a bunch of places that have beautiful suits made. I don't know if he was in a hurry and ran past Ross Dress for Less. I mean, I don't know what he's got going on, but by comparison, just look at the quality of their ties. Look at the quality of their shirts. This is a class warfare thing, right? And Trump, of course, is always very comfortable in the clothes that he wears, but it makes Zohran, his first name, makes Zohran Zamdammit, as I like to call him, look like a kid. I mean, like a new hire at working for Trump International. That's what he looks like in this thing. It is an amazing thing to see. And I'm sure people on the left who are consultants are looking at this thing going, can't use this clip, can't use that clip. You know, it's narrowly escaping them. But with all of that said, Laura, and a couple other people in the chat, this is the Pop in Politics hoodie. Let's see if I can get it up high enough so you guys can see it.
Yes.
It is incredibly comfortable. Incredibly comfortable. And it is also, I think it's still in our store as well. I don't know if it's on the screen, but it's still in our store. It is the perfect gift for a Pop in Politics fans. It is nice and fleecy on the inside, so it keeps you super warm. And I am making some adjustments in my house for Thanksgiving with my nephews coming. So I had to put on something, you know, warm because I had the doors and stuff open. This is perfect for that. So get yourself this hoodie so you too can be nice and cozy during the holiday season and during the tough weather.
Yes, indeed. And just want to say something really quickly. So yes, I agree with you, Nicole. Mamdani and the visual between Mamdani and President Trump is striking, and it is different, but it's not, I don't think it's in actuality, you know, in reality, Mamdani has some money. Okay. He comes from money. He is putting on here. All right. He has money to probably buy the same suit as President Trump. And he comes from a millionaire family, you know, and I was talking to somebody today about this, you know, these people, these leftists, these liberals who come from money, all right, but they're trying to play like they, are right there with the working people, right there with the poor and the middle class, and they're putting on airs, but they go home on their vacations and they travel the country, in first class and things like that. They go to their private schools. They have no real connection with the working people, all right? Not in action, not in reality, they haven't lived it or anything, all right? And so, but they do what he does. I know somebody just like him. They do what he does, and talk about Republicans, talk about capitalism, yet their lives have been built off of the backs of capitalism. So, he's a poser. He is a poser. All right. Let's get back into this. Okay. Let's see here. Here we go.
I haven't spoken this week.
Mr. President, have you spoken to President Zelensky, or do you intend to meet with him, President Zelensky, about your plan? Are you going to meet with him?
I thought they should have acted, to put it nicely. Soldiers. I don't want to predict. I would have said that would have been one of my early ones. I did 8 peace deals of countries, including in India, Pakistan. You could even go, in fact, they're coming here in a week or two, go to the Congo and Rwanda. That was 10 million people dead. And we worked something out on that, but so many. And the one I thought would have been, for me, because I have a very good relationship with President Putin, I thought that would have been maybe quicker. But it does take 2 to tango. It does, other than the fact that I blame the person. 5, think.
I want to ask the mayor-elect about a House resolution. It just passed overwhelmingly to condemn socialism, including with 86 Democrats, all of House Dem leadership, and the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, despite his endorsement of you. What's your reaction to that?
I have to be honest with you. I focused very little on resolutions. Frankly, I've been focusing.
Condemn socialism.
I understand. I think the focus is on the work at hand. I can tell you I am someone who is a democratic socialist. I've been very open about that. And I know there might be differences about ideology, but the place of agreement is the work that needs to be done to make New York City affordable. That's what I look forward to.
And I want to clarify your answer to Stephen Nelson. He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist. And your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about.
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay.
Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
And Mr. President, I want.
All right. We got to get into this. This one went viral. Shelly, what did you think of that exchange?
I loved it. It's a little self-deprecating. It was hilarious. It's just to make light, like, okay, whatever he called it, we already know it. Don't even lie about it, Mamdani. Don't try to explain it any further. Just own it. And again, that's another reason I think it makes him look like when he's standing there. Like President Trump is like, okay, you're going to stand here on your own and answer the questions based on your words, your speeches, your campaign. Stand here on your own. I'm not going to come and rescue you, particularly for all of the anti-American things that you were spewing. So I loved it, and it was a good way to make a joke, make light of it. It was nothing to get worked up over. It was real funny. It worked.
Yeah. Nicole, what are your thoughts on that exchange?
It's classic Trump. He just kind of diffused all of the energy in the room because you knew the press was going to keep pressing, keep pushing. This was a great way to make everybody laugh, kind of break the ice a little bit, and still own him. Still own. That slap on his arm was the slap around the world. They were talking about that. Ha ha, slap, all over the internet. I am just, again, taken aback by the political theater that's playing out. And I, for the first time, appreciate the presidential press corps for asking the question, keeping the pressure on, and reminding people that while everybody's all smiles, when Zamdamic got back to New York, he went right back to the same crap he was doing before. And President Trump went right back to what he was doing. This was a zero-sum, zero-net kind of nice to meet you. We both love New York. I'll help where I can, but I think anything that he wants is going to have to come through Scott Bessent, and he's got a hard road with Scott. Please believe me.
Yeah, I loved it. President Trump is so confident. That is a confident man right there. You know how we have the manosphere and, these men's movements. Young boys need to watch this press conference. This is how a boss moves, okay? Oh, you called me names? I brushed it off. This is how we do. This is how men, argue. You called me names, I called you names, but at the end of the day, I'm the one sitting in the chair in the Oval Office, and you got to come to me, okay? I loved it. It was so good. And then he patted him like, and you can see Mamdani has very soft hands. This man has not worked a day in his life. Look at his hands. Let's just back up here, please. Oh, I don't know. Well, I have a big screen. His hands look so pudgy and soft. It's like he looks like he has one of those shakes where his hands are wet, sort of they damp, and you're like, that's what it reminds me of. I can see it. He looks like a guy. You shake his hand, and his hands are wet. They're damp, and you're like, and then you look like, oh my God, what's wrong with him? Okay, all right. Let's see here. Here we go.
I wanted to ask you also about this Ukraine plan. President Zelensky said today that his country would risk either
in the Oval Office, the deal would have been if it never started.
See specifically as being a problem, and I'd like that be a question that both of you could answer in New York City.
Look, I think that there are many things in our city where we have to own the responsibility of it, things that existed long before the president was the president. And those are also part of the message of our campaign, was to take on a broken politics of the past. And I ran against a number of candidates who represented different versions of that past. And what we found time and again is that working people were left behind in the politics of our city. And what we're looking to do is put those people right back at the heart of our politics so that we don't have a situation where we're in the wealthiest city in the history of the world, and yet 1 in 5 can't even afford $2.90 for a Metro card.
We had some interesting conversation, and some of his ideas really are the same ideas that I have. But a big thing on cost, the new word is affordability. Another word is just groceries. It's sort of an old-fashioned word, but it's very accurate. And they're coming down high. They were, we had, both of us, we had the highest inflation in the history of our country the last 4 years under the Biden administration. And we've got inflation down now to a normal number. It's going to go even a little bit lower than that. Katie, do you have something in it?
All right. You see what he did there, right? He said, Mamdani's talking about affordability. I'm the one going to bring it to you.
Exactly. He needs Trump. Trump.
It was a beautiful pivot. It was a beautiful pivot. If you're running for office and you want to know how to redirect the conversation, this is it. That was a beautiful pivot. Oh yeah, nice point. Anyway, like I said, Joe Biden raised, the interest was high under Joe Biden, and we're bringing it down. I love that pivot. It was perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it was like you're complaining about high groceries. You're complaining about affordability, housing. Biden put us in this, man.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta fix it.
Yep.
Shelly.
Yeah, I mean, again, look, Mamdani needs Trump. He needs Trump to not just for federal money thing. He needs Trump's direction. He needs to know how to move and play and wheel and deal in New York City, okay? And what I think he's going to find out is that he can call himself democratic socialist, whatever he wants. But in New York City and in America, what he actually needs is money, networks, resources. And if he doesn't have that, all the socialism that he calls himself a socialist is not going to mean a jack of beans, nothing.
This is what happens with socialists all the time. Every now and again, they whip up and win an election, but when socialism hits reality, it does not work. It has not worked anywhere in the world, and it's not for sure going to work in New York City. Now, when these people found out that the buses aren't going to be free, they was a little testy about it, and there's not going to be any rent control. Okay, well, wait a minute. This is all the stuff he promised us for these votes. And oh, by the way, the big post where he says, people donate to me because I don't have enough money for a transition. It's like you run, and then, oh, shit, I got elected. Now what? And that is what Zandammit is going through right now. He doesn't know what the next move is. He did not make a friend of Eric Adams. Eric ain't got to help him.
Exactly. What was LL Cool J song? Around the Way Girl?
Mm-hmm.
Trump is an around the way boy. And
Oh, yeah.
Mamdani is going to find out.
Yeah. And speaking of 80 songs, people call me Tenderoni. All right, let's keep this train going.
Mr. Mamdani often talks about New York City being covered by international law, that they will follow international law. Doesn't often talk about the U.S. Constitution. What is your response to that?
Well, I don't know what you're referring to in terms of it can be covered by international law and local law. It's covered by a lot of laws, but it's covered by U.S. law. Are you referring to anything in particular?
He just says that they're a city that endorses and enforces international law. Is that at odds with
No,
US
I don't
law?
know. Would you want to respond to
Yeah,
that?
I think what I've shared with the president is our desire to not only follow the laws of our own city, laws that protect New Yorkers, but also a desire for consistency in our politics across the board. And that's something that we've talked about and something that I know many New Yorkers want.
We work with ICE. We work with ICE.
We discussed ICE and New York City, and I spoke about how the laws that we have in New York City allow for New York City government to speak to the federal administration for about 170 serious crimes. The concerns that many New Yorkers have are around the enforcement of immigration laws on New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs. And most recently, we're talking about a mother and her 2 children, how this has very little to do with what that is.
Mr. Mamdani,
What we did is we discussed crime more than ICE per se. We discussed crime, and he doesn't want to see crime, and I don't want to see crime. And I have very little doubt that we're not going to get along on that issue. He wants to, and he said some things that were very interesting as to housing construction, and he wants to see houses go up. He wants to see a lot of houses created, a lot of apartments built, etc. And we actually people would be shocked, but I want to see the same thing.
Mr. Mamdani, the anti-Israel protesters.
Yeah.
Mr. President, I wanted to know one of the policies as well that Mayor-elect Mamdani talked a number of times about on the campaign was shifting the tax burden for property taxes from what he called minority communities to white-based communities and putting more taxes on white people. I also noticed that in your acceptance speech, you didn't mention anything about America or Christians or white people in general. And so I didn't know if that was one of the policies that you guys had spoken about.
We focused on affordability. We focused on the cost of living crisis. What I will say is that I am very much interested in property tax reform because what we see right now in New York City is a system that is so inequitable that it can't even stand up in court. And the president and I spoke about the importance of not only building more housing, but also making sure that regulation of housing is something that is manageable to actually get through and not the cause of yet another weight that we see in our
But to be
city.
clear, you're continuing this idea of race-based property taxes.
No, to be very clear,
That's what you said.
no, the use of the term was a description of neighborhoods, not a description of intent.
So you intend to tax the whiter neighborhoods more?
No, we intend to create a fair property tax system because we want a New York City that is not only fair and equitable, but also one that every New Yorker can afford.
Mr. Mamdani, the anti-Israel
All right. Lot to unpack there. Shelley, what did you
First
thought?
of all, if you see President Trump's face while he's looking, just some of the faces, but I think this is what I heard him say when Mamdani was talking about ICE and President Trump said something about he also wants houses to be built. President Trump is the ultimate builder. And what I think he didn't say, this is my never to be humble opinion, he probably said, and if you want the reform on ICE and if you want these houses built, ICE is going to come in and clean up first, clean out the illegals out the houses or wherever they may be, and then we can build you some houses. I'm a builder. Trump certainly knows how to build, so the advantage is in his court. Mamdani will, again, he will come to realize that he needs Trump more than Trump needs him. Trump has not only the money, the resources, the builders, the construction, all the things that Mamdani needs. And certainly Trump, again, he wants New York to succeed. He loves New York. He wants New Yorkers to succeed. All of these things, we're going to find out just how good capitalism works for New Yorkers.
Yeah, Nicole, did you catch that part where Mamdani actually said less regulation? That's a capitalism thing, not a socialist thing.
Well, listen, Mamdani is not used to what he's going through in this moment. Usually when you have an oppressor and you're like a local, state official, they're a good bit back away from you. These are people literally standing a few feet in front of you, asking you tough questions that you don't have a prepared answer for. Now, I get it. Whoever gave him the murder board before he came to this event did a reasonably good job, but I'm sure they didn't think that the press was going to call him out on everything he's ever said. If Trump weren't in the room and this was just a presser for him, I think they would have gone a little bit harder. I do appreciate the decorum that's happening there, but I love most the president's correction of him when they were talking about immigration. And he was saying, well, we talked about a mother and her 2 children and, some immigration things. And Trump goes, yeah, crime, right? Let's call it what it is. We're not going to play this word game that you guys like to do. If you're in the country illegally, it is a crime. It is a crime. There's no 2 ways about it. So I appreciate that. And I also appreciate how hard the reporter, the last gentleman who asked this question, would not let him wiggle out of it. He just kept coming for him and coming for him and coming for him, pressing him and pressing him. And I think this is a good exercise for everybody involved because, usually the press lets Democrats kind of skate on any old kind of answer, a la Jasmine Crockett and that Jeffrey Epstein, but not that Jeffrey Epstein answer. This is very different than I'm sure he expected.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. Folks, we have some breaking news out tonight, and it is not good. So right now, we are hearing that there is a shooting in North Carolina, Concord, North Carolina. A shooter has opened fire on a crowd at a Christmas tree lighting, and there are casualties. Let me see here.
Can't go no goddamn where, man.
So that's all we have as far as video right now. We will keep you all abreast of what's going on, praying for anyone who was involved, praying for healing. If there were any casualties, praying for their families and loved ones. So this was Concord, North Carolina. So we'll have our producers continue to research it. My goodness, what is wrong with people, Shelley? What's wrong with people these days?
It's I mean, evil. That's all I can say. It's just evil. Evil hates joy. It hates goodness. It hates to see other people. I'm talking about pure evil. Anything that is good, decent, healthy, if you will. Evil hates it. And it works to kill, steal, and destroy. That's all it is. Whether or not you celebrate Christmas or it doesn't even matter. It does not matter. You can celebrate whatever you want, but to go into a field or a square and actually shoot people, it's evil.
Yeah. We'll keep you guys abreast of what's going on. All right. So let's get back to this presser here. Lots of more really extraordinary highlights in this presser. Folks, as you come in, please hit that like button. It really helps to get this video out in front of a wider audience. And subscribe. We are building a community here of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. So stand with us and subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right. Let me see here. All right. Here we go. Oh.
Please, God.
Mr. Mamdani, anti-Israel protesters just targeted a synagogue in New York. Are you concerned about Jewish New Yorkers feeling welcome and safe in the city? And President Trump, you've threatened to cut off federal funding to New York City. What policies would prompt you to do that? Would that be city-run grocery stores? Would it be something else?
Well, I think if we didn't get along, whether it's cut off or just make it a little bit difficult or not give as much, we want to see, I use the term, we don't want good money going after bad. And, we don't want that to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I did say that, subject to what policies are being said. We had a meeting today that actually surprised me. He wants to see no crime. He wants to see housing being built. He wants to see rents coming down, all things that I agree with. Now, we may disagree how we get there. The rent coming down, I think one of the things I really gleaned very much today, he'd like to see him come down ideally by building a lot of additional housing.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate way. He agrees with that, and so do I. But if I read the newspapers and the stories, I don't hear that. But I heard him say it today, and I think that's a very positive step. No, I don't expect. I expect to be helping him, not hurting him. A big help, because I want New York City to be great. Look, I love New York City. It's where I come from. I spent a lot of years there. Now I'm right here. We took a big setback with the mayor that we had, named de Blasio. I thought it was a tremendous setback for the city. I think this mayor can do some things that are going to be really great.
Mr. President.
All right, ladies, you heard what he said. Shelley, do you think Trump is going too far with the niceties?
No, I don't. I think he's playing the long game. Trump is a builder. He is a strategist. He likes making deals. He said there, we want the same things or some of the same things. It just we're fighting over or disagree of how to get there. But in order to have reduced rents, crime reduction, you have to build more houses. And if housing is too expensive, then the builders or the renters are not going to be able to afford it. And the builders are not going to build there because nobody can afford their buildings. It's just that simple economics. So if you want these things, then guess what? The regulations have to come down. You said it yourself. Mamdani said he wants fewer regulations. All these things play. It's not just one thing and that's it, one and done, all or nothing. These are going to go hand in hand. Again, Trump is in the better position because he's been doing this all his life.
Yeah. I want to get you in on this, Nicole. I want to get a little bit more of this video and then get your response.
Mm-hmm.
Have a different address nowadays than you used to, but you used to call New York City home. Would you feel comfortable living in New York City under a Mamdani administration?
Yeah, I would. I would. Especially after the meeting. Absolutely.
What makes you comfortable?
We agree on a lot more than I would have thought. I think I want him to do a great job, and we'll help him do a great job. He may have different views, but in many ways, we were discussing when Bernie Sanders was out of the race, I picked up a lot of his votes, and people had no idea because he was strong on not getting ripped off in trade and lots of the things that I've practiced and been very successful on. Tariffs, a lot of things. Bernie Sanders and I agreed on much more than people thought. And when he was put out of the race, I think quite unfairly, if you want to know the truth, many of the Bernie Sanders voters voted for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt very comfortable, frankly, in seeing that and saying that. And, it just turned out to be a statistical truth. But no, I feel very comfortable. I would feel very, very comfortable being in New York. And I think much more so after the meeting. Yes, please.
Nicole, President Trump is saying he would be comfortable living in New York under a Mamdani mayorship. So this is going to all those people who were fleeing the state, fleeing the city, saying we can't stay here. This guy's going to turn it into socialist hellscape. Now he's saying, hey guys, hold your horses. This guy isn't so bad. What are your thoughts?
Look, at 52% tax, they leaving anyway, honey, for the great state of Florida, the great state of Texas with that 0 state tax. They're gone. But what I think happened here was probably a masterstroke that most people didn't catch. Zamdammit, again, has to go back home to the Muslim Brotherhood and all the people that he made all these campaign promises to. He has to go back and dance for them. And now he gets to go back and dance for them with President Trump saying, oh, of course I would live there. Of course we have things that we like. We both agree. Note that he says that over and over and over again. And every time he does that, he's taking a cog out of that wheel of all of that vitriol that Zamdammit and his cronies were saying, Trump is a horrible person, this and this and this. What Trump has successfully done is he's defeated them with niceties. He really has lulled them into this false sense of everything is going to be okay everything is going to work. But when you listen to his words, he's telling them ICE is coming. We will handle crime. You will reduce these regulations. He's not given an inch on anything that Zandami promised these folks, not given 1 inch. He's just been very kind. And in the meantime, he's trolling him so hard. It is, again, a master class on how to treat your political enemies very kindly, but hold your ground. I'm loving every minute of this. Every minute.
Yeah, me too. Let's continue.
I have a question for you, but a very quick one for the mayor. Why did you fly here? Aren't trains greener?
I will use every form of transit, and I want to make sure that they're all affordable in New York City, and that's why making buses fast and free is a centerpiece of our campaign.
Did you?
There is a bus that goes.
Well, but I know, but if he flew, that's a lot quicker too. You know, I mean, he's working very hard for him to be. That's a very long drive. I'll stick up for you. You know, the plane takes you 30 minutes and driving takes you a long
Mr. President, I was wondering if you could clear up some confusion around a Washington Post report. There was this explosive report that the Coast Guard is no longer going to characterize swastikas and nooses as hate symbols. DHS called that a lie and fake news. Can you clear up?
I don't know anything about it. When was this written?
I think yesterday.
Well, look, the Coast Guard's an incredible group of people. I know them very well. We just ordered a lot of new Coast Guard cutters. Beautiful. The make most.
All right. So before he goes on here, I got to get your response, Shelly. He says, I'm gonna take up for you on this one, Mamdani.
Again, masterclass. Trump is in the higher seat, if you will, not just sitting there. Again, earlier, like we said, I think this is what the right needs to learn and be able to do better. Not just get. I mean, no, we can have the arguing and fussing, but obviously, of course, Trump didn't agree with whatever Mamdani doing his campaign. But long game, people, stop throwing. I'm not talking about Mamdani per se, but stop throwing everybody out because we don't agree on everything. Trump is doing exactly. He's much more Reagan-esque. The 80-20 rule here is what he's saying. We agree on a lot more. He was quite surprised himself, but he's going forward with his strategy. Still didn't put a stop in his tracks.
Yeah. And another thing here, I think, is, and it's different than, I would say, you know, Trump's disagreements with some of the other people like Liz Cheney and what's her name? John McCain's daughter and these other people he's had, even Marjorie Taylor Greene. Mamdani, he sees leverage here. You know, this is something he can use in the fight. You know, he, again, as you said, Nicole, he's not conceding on anything that he said. He's not conceding. I'm talking about President Trump is not conceding on his agenda. And, you know, have this picture here showing Mamdani, you know, sitting there like a just groomed puppy, you know, waiting to be petted and having to be saved over and over again from the press by President Trump. It's a good look for President Trump. It is Absolutely. A very good look for him. You know, again, you know, President Trump is the expert strategist. He's very good at doing this types of stuff, and he knows exactly what he is doing. You know, I haven't seen him put out any type of comment about Marjorie Taylor Greene. And folks, if you just coming in, Marjorie Taylor Greene has announced that she is resigning. She is leaving her post early. She is resigning effective January 6th, I think it is. Honestly, this is just another bitch move to me. I gotta say it. She's trying to stick it to the party again. I don't see how you can look at it any other way. You know, she's leaving early. She's leaving her post early. And again, yes, they're going to replace her, but still, you know, it's just like, you can't finish out your term. You know, you got to leave now just because you had a disagreement with the president. You know, she's trying to be nasty. This is what it is. And, you know, it's just my opinion. And I hope she gets everything she deserves. All right. Let's continue with this. There's more here.
Magnificent ship. They look like yachts with lots of guns on them. So
Talking about the Coast Guard.
Working on peace. Why that?
I've spoken about the Israeli government committing genocide.
President Trump will. You are a peacemaker and you did a peace in all the 9 months around the world. I would like to ask Mr. Mamdani, you've accused the US government of committing genocide in Gaza while President Trump was working on peace. Why that?
I've spoken about the Israeli government committing genocide, and I've spoken about our government funding it. And I shared with the president in our meeting about the concern that many New Yorkers have of wanting their tax dollars to go towards the benefit of New Yorkers and their ability to afford basic dignity. And what we see right now is we're in the 9th consecutive year of more than 100,000 school children being homeless in our city. And there's a desperate need not only for the following of human rights, but also the following through on the promises we've made New Yorkers. And I appreciated the meeting we had and the work that we can do.
Do you agree that President Trump did do a peace and work hard to make the peace, because he worked hard to do the peace in the Middle East and everywhere? What do you agree with that?
I appreciate all efforts towards peace, and I shared with President Trump that when I spoke to Trump voters on Hillside Avenue, including one of whom was a pharmacist that spoke about how President Trump's father actually went to that pharmacy not too far from Jamaica Estates, that people were tired of seeing our tax dollars fund endless wars. And I also believe that we have to follow through on the international human rights. And I know that still today, those are being violated, and that continues to be work that has to be done no matter where we're speaking of.
Mr. President, question for Mr. Thank you, Mr. President. Do you view the mayor-elect as...
All right. Nicole, what did you think about that exchange?
The worst pivot in political history. The worst pivot. Because you could see on his face what he wanted to say. You could see that he wanted to say, yes, Israel is committing this genocide and blah, blah, Palestinian, blah, blah, jihadists, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Not in that room, he wasn't going to say it. He was not going to say it in that room. You talk about punked. Trump literally pulled his punk card, punched it, and gave it back to him. He swallowed all of that hate, swallowed all of those words. I'm telling you, him going back to his constituents, when he gets back to New York, he's going to have to answer for some of these answers that he gave, because now you're on the world stage and you asked for it. You begged for this meeting. Trump didn't want to meet with you. You wanted it. And here you are in front of the world's press. This is your moment. This is your Muslim Brotherhood moment. Strike your blow. And what did he do? He folded like a wet damn paper towel. Talk about a win. Let's go, Trump. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy good.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead. Okay,
go, Shirley.
Jose, we have a super chat here. Greta Grace. Greta says he doesn't want, I'm thinking Trump doesn't want billionaires or companies to leave NYC. He loves that city. Yes, Greta, that's what exactly we've been saying that. So, and not only that, New York is a city, a great city, but it's the financial capital of the world, not just United States. So there's so much at stake here. I mean, theoretically, if New York fails, there goes, a lot of other cities in America for all intents and purposes. But Mamdani, we know that he doesn't know what he's doing. Trump does. And that's why Trump said, okay, again, you're coming to me. You need me more than I need you. And let's go. Let's keep on playing the long game.
Yeah. I mean, folks, this presser, I am positive that Mamdani is going home. He went home tonight with a sore behind. His butt is so raw tonight, folks, from being bent over in this interview, in this press conference. I mean, Trump really pumped him hard. He was bent over the whole time. And tonight, this man is sitting on a sick bath. Okay. Here we go.
The true leader of the Democrat Party. And do you think Leader Schumer and Leader Jeffries, have to follow his lead?
Well, look, I hope they have great leaders. This is a man that right now I think is focused in New York City. I really think he has a chance to do a great job. We're going to help him, but I really think he has a chance to do a great job. But I'll let you answer that. You consider yourself the leader of the Democrats? I think it's more appropriate.
Wow.
I consider myself the next mayor of New York City, and I keep my horizons firmly on New York City. And I appreciate the meeting with the president, which focused again on the 5 boroughs and whether New Yorkers could afford to live there.
By the way, being the mayor of New York City is a big deal.
Absolutely.
I always said, one of the things I would love to be someday is the mayor of New York City. Being the mayor of New York, and especially now, because I think you're at really a turning point, one way or the other. You could go great or it can go in a different direction. And I think you really have a chance to make it great.
Mr. President, you say you love New York City. Mr. Mamdani, does New York City love President Trump?
New York City loves a future that is affordable. And I can tell you that there were more New Yorkers who voted for President Trump in the most recent presidential election because of that focus on cost of living. And I'm looking forward to working together to deliver on that affordability agenda.
I got a lot of votes. One more, go ahead.
Now you see that, right? Talk about pivots. Shelly, what do you think there?
Newsflash, after President Trump leaves the White House, he will be mayor of New York City. That he'll be mayor or governor of New York State, or certainly mayor of New York City. That I'm claiming that. I'm claiming that because I think this was foreshadowing.
A president going to be mayor or governor?
That's okay. It's New York City. It's the city of the world. Okay. It has Trump's name all over it. That would be a huge, I don't know what you want to call it, to President Trump. But yes, remember, he said years ago, even before he ran, that he could see himself being president. And here he is, right? I think that's foreshadowing. President Trump, he wants to, after Mamdani kind of messes it up a little bit, he goes in, he comes in, fixes it up. His name is already there, whatever. Hey, I think that's foreshadowing.
All right, Nicole, what are your thoughts there?
Zam Damit's got to practice these pivots. These pivots are terrible. Like somebody told him how to do it in the Uber over to the White House. It's ridiculous. Yeah, New York loves affordability. No, they don't. And believe me, the people jumping the turnstile got $1.25 in their pocket. They just don't want to give it to you. Right. It's a whole different thing between not having it and willingness. Completely different. This is really showing people who may have thought that Zohran was some kind of, political, upstart phenom, that he has no idea. I mean, no idea what he's doing or what he's in for. And it is so crazy to watch. I'm sure they tried to prepare him the best way that they knew how, but he's going to need much more help to deal with the press, how to answer a tough question, and his pivots are just ridiculous. He sounds like a third grader who ate too many cookies and teaches, do you eat the cookies? I love cookies. Get out of here. What is wrong with this man? He needs help. Somebody send them help. Somebody go get AOC so she can whisper in his ear.
Yeah. Well, they just said that once he got back to New York City, he came out with some song that's going to be the new song for his administration. I'm down on bended knee.
You know what, KJ? Not tonight. Not tonight, girl. We're not doing that tonight. First, now you want to bend the knees, talking about his booty, girl.
Yeah, he got up off his knees and he got sat down on the sitz bath.
All right, more Vaseline, I guess.
Yeah.
Lord have mercy.
Here we go. We are almost at the end.
I tell you, the press has eaten this thing up. I've had a lot of meetings with the heads of major countries. Nobody cared. This meeting that you people have gone crazy. Outside you have hundreds of people waiting. This is just a small little group. For some reason, the press has found this to be a very interesting meeting. The biggest people in the world, they come over from countries nobody cares, but they did care about this meeting, and it was a great meeting. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. President, I was going to ask you exactly that. Why do you think there's so much more, so much excitement around this city in some form?
Because I think he's different. All right. I think he's different, and that can be in a very positive way, but I think he's different than, your typical guy runs, wins, becomes mayor maybe, and nothing exciting, because he has a chance to really do something great for New York. New York is at a very critical point, and he does need the help of the federal government to really succeed, and we're going to be helping him. But he's different than, your average candidate. He came out of nowhere. I said he has a great campaign manager standing over there. He came out of nowhere. Would you start off at 1 or 2? And then I watched. I said, who is this guy? He was at 1, then he was at 3, then he was at 5, then he was at 9. And he went up to 17. I said, that's getting a little bit interesting, right? And then all of a sudden he wins a primary that nobody expected he was going to win. It's a great a great tribute. I mean, it's an amazing thing that he did.
And I'll just add one thing to what the president said. Is one thing I also appreciated is in our meeting to appreciate a portrait of FDR and the incredible work that was done with the New Deal, and also in thinking about what it can look like when the federal government and New York City government work together to deliver on affordability. It can be transformative.
You know, we have a great portrait of FDR that I found in the vaults that was missing for years. I found it and I put it up. He's a Democrat, to the best of my knowledge. He's a Democrat. And when the mayor saw that portrait, he said, "Sir, do you mind if I have a picture taken by that portrait?" It's an amazing portrait. I hope the picture comes out good. But it's an amazing portrait in the cabinet room. So he's a big fan of the New Deal, I guess, and of FDR. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said that you both spoke about crime.
I wanted to get you guys' response to that. Nicole, what do you think of that exchange?
Listen, again, when Trump said, this is just a small sampling of the people who are here to see you, there are hundreds of people in the hallway. Did you see the expression on Zamdamit's face was like, oh shit. He is so out of his depth. You know, it makes you kind of want to feel sorry for him, except for, you know, all the hell that the people of the New York City are going to have to go through. This term of his in office is going to undo all of the great things that Giuliani did, cleaned up the city, that kind of thing. And housing is going to be much more readily available when they get rid of the 1 million+ illegal immigrants in the city. Mm-hmm. So things are going to work out in a way that I don't think he's emotionally and spiritually prepared for. God knows he's not cognitively ready for it. If he's just shook by a bunch of press in Washington, D.C., welcome to the swamp. This is how we do it. It's not like New York. They're not going to be pleasant. They're not going to be Democrat. They're not going to ask you softball questions. They're going to hold you accountable on your words, and they're not going to let up. So I think that part where Trump said, oh yeah, there's a bunch of them out there. But then he goes on and he says, oh, things are going to be nice and New York's going to work out and we're going to help you. Again, he's feeding him, trolling him some line. He's just baiting him along until the end when he gets the hook. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Shelley, what did you think? Because Mamdani sat there and said, you know, he's a fan of the New Deal. He praised the New Deal. We know what the New Deal is. It brought in a huge, increased the size of the federal government, put a lot of people on social programs, and we haven't really gotten off of that sort of track since. Mm-hmm. And President Trump didn't seem to push back at it at all. What are your thoughts there?
Because first of all, this was not a debate. Number one, President Trump let him again talk on his own, whatever his campaign speeches were, whatever his points are. But ultimately, President Trump said it right there. He needs our help. He's going to need our help. We're not going to let New York City fail. If New York City fails, there goes virtually every major city in the United States, and for that matter, across the world, because New York City is the city of the world. Not only that, President Trump is teaching Mamdani. I think he's getting a real up close taste of what President Trump is or is not going to allow, not do, just allow, because that New York is not going to allow it either. Mamdani, all he has are speeches and sound good, feel good campaign, phrases and all that, but he has no resources in and of himself. He needs President Trump. And he didn't want to say it, but there are probably more New Yorkers that love President Trump than Mamdani even wants to admit. Okay. Yes, you can give his props to the campaign manager. He won the campaign. In that sense, like you said, President Trump, congratulate him. But New York City, Mamdani is just the mayor. New York City belongs to America.
Yeah. Folks, more breaking news within the last 2 hours. In a massive move, President Trump terminates temporary status for Somalians in Minnesota after massive Medicaid fraud has been exposed. He put out a Truth Social post saying, under Governor Walz is a hub of fraudulent money laundering activity. I am, as President of the United States, hereby terminating, effective immediately, the temporary protected status for Somalis in Minnesota. Woo, that's the Somali headquarters. That's the haven. Somali gangs are terrorizing the people of that great state, and billions of dollars are missing. Send them back to where they came from. It's over. President DJT. First thoughts, Nicole.
Listen, I've been watching these temporary protected statuses as they expire. I gave you guys the list maybe 3-4 months ago. They're going to expire, I think, mid 2026 anyway. But why wait when you have the power to make them go, especially when they've been scamming the government for so very long? This is a brilliant move, mostly because President Trump controls immigration. And they can file lawsuits and they can do all the things that they want to do, but they can do it from their homeland. There's no reason for them to stay. Temporary protected status is at the pleasure of the Secretary of State. I don't think he's pleased. I don't think Marco's pleased.
Yeah. Shelly, I saw you waving your hands and everything. I guess you're excited.
That's right. Get out, go home, whatever. I was just pulling up a news article, and I can't remember who it was just now, but so forgive me for not having that. I just lost the source. But one of the news outlets is saying, does President Trump have the authority to suspend TPS for certain areas or certain states? Okay, guess what? If the Supreme Court or if the court say, no, you can't do that based on a state, okay, send them all. Send them all. Just make it across the board. Send them all wherever they are in the United States. Get out, go home. Hey, send them over there to help the Christians fight in Nigeria. I mean, they're more neighbors to Nigeria than they are to the United States. So send them out.
Absolutely. Do you know what's going to be fun to watch is Ilhan Omar when she comes back Monday, I think, or are they out for the holiday? When they finally come back for session, it's going to be interesting what she has to say about that. Because, that's how her family got here. That's how they arrived. We fed them, we clothed them, we took them from war-torn desert type of environments and introduced them to the first world, quote unquote, right? And what do we get for that? They rob from us, they steal from us, they commit fraud against us. At some point, someone's got to stand up for America, and I can't think of a better person to do that than Donald John Trump.
Oh yeah, and yes, as you mentioned, and we got Darth Sith Omar. That's who we got. So yeah, it's time. She's gonna be pissed, and we'll definitely cover it. All right, this is the end of the meeting here. Ms. Presser, we want to bring you the final moments. Take a look here.
Police officers set to come off the rolls at the end of this year in New York City. Are you going to allow those police to be replaced with police officers, actual cops? And are you going to require that happens? Would there be some consequence if the staff
happens? But again, that's going to be ultimately the mayor's decision.
What's your answer?
Is that I look forward to delivering public safety with the NYPD, and I've said over the course of our campaign that we have the number of police officers today. They are the ones that's budgeted about 35,000 headcount. And I think the key thing is that we have to make it easier for police to focus on police work, not ask them to respond to 200,000 mental health calls a year.
So is that a reduction from what you're at right now? Are you committing to maintaining the same level of cops?
I've committed over the course of the campaign to maintain the 35,000. That's the headcount that we had through the campaign.
And not replace them with caseworkers, social workers.
No, I've said that's the headcount that we want. What we need to do is make sure they can focus on serious crime.
And he just retained a great police commissioner, I believe, right?
Yes, we did. Commissioner Tisch.
If the newspapers are correct.
That one they're correct about.
He retained, I think, somebody that is she's a good friend of some of the people in my family, of Ivanka, and they say she's really good, really competent, and he just retained her, so that's a good sign.
Are there still topics that you see the two of you disagreeing on in the future? And do you think you'll have more meetings like this?
There will be topics that we disagree on. I think we'll probably come to a conclusion, and ultimately he'll convince me or I'll convince him. It's for the good of New York. Ultimately, it's for the good of New York. I don't care about affiliations or parties or anything else. I want to see if this city could be unbelievable, if he could be a spectacular success, I'd be very happy.
Do you think you guys will meet more in the future too?
Sure.
Do you think you'll meet again in the future, throughout the administration?
I think we will. I hope we do. I enjoyed the meeting. We had a great meeting. Please.
Mr. President, Republican Elise Stefanik has campaigned multiple times by calling Zohran Mamdani a jihadist. Do you think you're standing next to a jihadist right now in the Oval Office?
No, I don't, but she's out there campaigning, and you know, you say things sometimes in a campaign.
Isn't that sort of
She's a very capable person, but you really have to ask her about that. But no, I don't particularly. I think I met with I met with a man who's a very rational person. I met with a man who really wants to see New York be great again. And I can say again, because New York was great. You know, when I came down to Washington initially, the city was so hot. It was doing great. We were having some telltale signs and problems. We had a mayor that was not doing a great job, but still, it was moving along. And it went bad. It really went, pretty bad. And I think it's been at lower points, but it went pretty bad. I think he can bring it back. Now, the question is, will he bring it back all the way? Will he bring it back greater than ever before, which is, I guarantee, that's his wish. I think he wants to make it greater than ever before. And if he can, we'll be out there cheering. I'll be cheering for him. Okay?
Well, there you have it. I want to get your thoughts, Nicole, because some people on that part were upset. Two things. One, because Elise Stefanik is the Republican she plans to run for governor. Mm-hmm. And two, that he did not go in on the jihadist thing. So he, said, I'm not standing next to a jihadist. He's a rational guy. Do you think he gave the right response there? Why not?
I think he gave a Trumpian response, if we can use that word. It was not the response that I personally would have given, but it's the response that plays into his hand. Again, for Trump, this is not the points he wanted to score. He's already scored, right? So no matter what Zamdammit does, he is now in bed with Trump. He can't wiggle away from it. There's clip after clip after clip that proves that. Elise Stefanik is not running against Zamdammit. She's running against Kathy Hochul. And she has called Zamdammit some fancy names. We all have. He represents something that if you are a traditionalist person, he represents the worst part of the world, right? He represents the worst things that could conceivably happen. So there's going to be some name calling and pushing and shoving. But again, she's not running against Zamdammit. She's running against Kathy Hochul. And I think the last thing I saw in a newspaper, she was like maybe 3 or 4 points off of Hochul's butt. And that's saying a lot. But, she's a Republican running in New York State. She'll win most of the state, except for New York City. But if she can chip away at Zamdammit and his jihadist tendencies, then she may get just enough to get her over the edge. Hopefully she can convince Jewish people to vote for her. Wouldn't that be a change of pace? Hopefully she can get people who now are not getting free bus rides, free rent, free groceries, free to vote for her too, because she's a realist. Nothing is free. The only thing you can get for free is the love of God. That's the only thing you can get for free. Everything else has an associated cost or somebody else is paying for it. So I don't blame him for not jumping into that. But I would have definitely addressed that jihadist thing differently than the president did in that clip.
All right. Shelley, what are your thoughts there? Do you agree you would have addressed that jihadist point differently, or you felt like Trump took the right tone and tenure?
I may have added something else, just, clarify. But again, President Trump is playing the long game. And I don't know if people caught this. I'm sure they caught it, but I took it very differently. He said, hey, you say things when you're on a campaign. Who knows that best? President Trump. Okay. He said many things, people calling people names, all kinds of things like that on campaigns, even still today. So I thought that was kind of a little clever dig to kind of answer that question as well. Again, Mamdani is probably the one doesn't know what to do, what to say, how is this going to play out. He's probably the one that's a little bit shaken in his boots right now, off kilter. President Trump, cool as a cucumber, going forward, again, playing the long game.
Yep, and he used that cucumber today. All right,
you know what? Walk right into that.
But what I want to say is, I agree with both of you ladies. And honestly, the jihadist thing, I mean, New York City voted in this man, and he came into the Oval Office and said that he wants New York City to thrive. Those things are not something a jihadist would want to do. A jihadist would want to see chaos and to see it crash and burn. So, I agree. I think Trump handled it well. He's not a jihadist, at least from what we can see, at least from what he's talking and saying as of right now. Now, give it a 6 months from now, maybe we'll feel differently with his policy, his agenda, and his comments that he makes. But as of right now, he's not. And as President Trump said, I mean, this is something we haven't seen in a very long time. A politician who is saying, I am here for everyone. President Trump was not running. He's not running. He is the president for everyone. And he wants to see a thriving New York City. So he does not have to, but he wants to see it thrive. And if that means, supporting this mayor, when he's doing, things that align for the, with his agenda and the prosperity of the city, he said nothing wrong.
Agreed.
So we will continue to follow this. Final thoughts, ladies. I'll start with you, Nicole.
At Love Live Free in the chat is breaking my soul up. I am over here giggling on the inside, the outside too. He talked about, I'm a boy, Damon with the cucumber. You guys,
yeah,
tickled me to look. Don't get KJ started because she'll do that all night. Don't get her started; she will go there all night. So, final thought is, what we saw in this meeting was President Trump acting presidential, doing what presidents do. And what we saw from Zamdammit is someone who is immature, who is not prepared for what he has worked so quote unquote hard to get to, as being the mayor of New York City. He's got some challenges. There's lots of people talking about moving Wall Street to Texas. There are lots of people who are talking about doing, lots of the financial centers moving south, where the economies are great. They've got great leadership, no state tax. It sounds pretty good to me. So he has an uphill battle that he's not prepared for, and he looked like that. So what we saw is what we already knew. President Trump is the president, and Zamdammit is probably a dummy.
All right. Shelley, final thoughts for tonight.
I'm just going to say this was, again, classic Trump strategy, the deal making, if you will, the long game, certainly. And President Trump loves New York. He is not going to let New York fail, Mamdani or anybody else. This is going to be even more applause for President Trump in the end, even more so than Mamdani. Mamdani might be the mayor, but President Trump is going to be the one behind the scenes. And again, President Trump doesn't mind giving people props. He doesn't. If New York succeeds, which it will, ultimately, because Mamdani is not going to be left up to his own recourses, President Trump will give him the props and still walk away on top, no matter what.
Yeah. Yep. I 100% agree with both of you. What we saw, as you both mentioned, was President Trump giving this was training day. This was training day, literally, for Mamdani. Hopefully he took something away from this. He was in the presence of Alonzo. Okay. And like he said in the movie, I'm surgical with this, Jake. This is what it was. Mamdani was overwhelmed. He was outmatched, and he realized he wasn't built for this game. Okay, because it's a game. It really is. It's a Game of Thrones, sort of. And Trump has come out on top multiple times, and he was on top tonight. And as I said earlier, Mamdani is sore at home, sitting on a sitz bath.
You know what?
All right, so We will be back. We will be back on Monday nights. We will be back at 9 p.m. right here on YouTube, Pop and Politics. Folks, if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to to get on the news and hot topics from a conservative perspective. All right. So this is our Friday Night Live. We come in a little hot tonight, but that's okay. It's Friday night. But we'll be back on Monday. In the meantime, if you're on tomorrow, check out Just the Guys podcast right here on YouTube. They will be here at 6:30 p.m. The All Guys panel giving you the news and culture and pointing out all the communist agenda in it all. So you do not want to miss Just the Guys podcast tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. For the ladies, you get an all male review, and for the guys, you get that brotherly, male perspective. So definitely check them out right at Just the Guys podcast here on YouTube and subscribe. All right. And then if you're still here, you can catch me on Sunday night. Believe it or not, I am a Christian. You may not know from the tone tonight, but I am. So we have a very toned down but fiery show at Christian Conservative. So at KJ Christian Conservative, we are there, me and Michelle, my co-host, on Sunday nights at 9 p.m., breaking everything down from a biblical perspective. You don't want to miss this night, Sunday night's show. That's Sundays at 9 p.m. at KJ Christian Conservative. All right. Again, folks, we appreciate all of your super chats. They go a long way in keeping us online. We certainly appreciate you all. So thank you so much. That's it for tonight. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.
Good night.